2023 Breeders' Cup Weekly, Episode 2. Who's in? Who's out? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back for episode number 2, tracking the whole Breeders' Cup situation, all 14 divisions, all over the world, all of the Win Your In races. Joining me today, the Formula. What's up, my buddy? Long time no recording together.
Yeah, I guess so. Trust the Prophets has been busy. You've obviously been busy with endeavors that you've inherited from nature and society. So
Yeah. I'm
it's
all
one way to
recovered
put
now.
it.
I'm back, full power, almost full power. So gearing it up for the Breeders' Cup season, baby. Let's talk about a few things today. Number one, let's recap what just happened. This past weekend, we had 5 new Win Your In races. Race winners have now qualified. You had Gold Phoenix in the Del Mar Handicap in the Turf division. You had Arabian Night in the Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Also at Del Mar, you had Motorious, the British horse at Del Mar in the Turf Sprint division. Bright Future also in the Classic division, won the Saratoga Jockey Club Gold Cup. And last but not least, the Flower Bowl, Parnack. So there's your new 5 additions to the Win Your In automatic qualifiers. And what we're going to do now is look at all the divisions, all the horses that have qualified so far in each division, and we'll run it through. Maybe run down memory lane a little bit with the 2022 winners, starting with the Juvenile Turf Sprint. Last year, of course, the Irish Mischief Magic got it started. And so far this year, there's only been two qualified horses, Valiant Force and Van Dijk. And there's only one more qualifier left, and that is coming up at Aqueduct in about a month from now on October 8th. Next up was the Juvenile Fillies Turf. We haven't seen any races yet, although if you see that highlight in green there, the Moiglaire Stud Stakes is this weekend. We will touch on it for a moment down the road in this video.
Moiglaire, very forthcoming with who's going to be entered into that race. All right, let's just throw that out there.
There are 6 qualifiers yet to come here. Meditate won this race last year. Thank you to Matthew DeSantis for hooking me up on that one, because that one paid me well. Wonder Wheel was the winner in the Juvenile Fillies last year, and then went on to not much else from there. 3 qualifiers coming up in that division, all in October. Again, about a month away on those. Juvenile Turf, Victoria Road won that thing last year, 2022. We got the first of 6 qualifiers coming up this weekend at Leopardstown. The Golden Fleece Stakes. Again, we'll touch on that. Forte was the juvenile champion last year. We haven't had any qualifiers yet. Got 3 coming up in October for the juvenile division. Turf Sprint. Got 2 races coming up this weekend. One at Kentucky Downs, which I know the Formula, that is your home track.
Yes.
And, the El Basti Equa World Dubai Flying 5. For all those American race fans, you're very familiar with that race. Yes. Kawa race course on the 10th. But that is this weekend, those 2. So we'll have 2 new qualifiers into the Turf Sprint division. Caravel's already qualified. Caravel was your champion last year at a bomb.
Yeah.
So that should be
if you hit that one, congratulations, because Caravel, I don't think she's ever going to give a number like that again. Or I'm sorry, Caravel looked like a... Never mind.
I remember that horse, Tyler Gaffaleone got that one home at a giant price, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely did.
Fillion Mare Sprint, you had Echo Zulu has qualified so far.
By beating Goodnight Olive, or beat Goodnight Olive. I'm not sure if it was that race, but already bested the winner of last year.
Yeah, and Echo Zulu's been a great horse, a monstrosity of a horse for the last couple of years, already qualified. Cody's Wish, Dirt Mile. I mean, 2 of the 3 races have been run already. Anarchist won the Pat O'Brien at Del Mar. And there's only one more to go, the ACAC Stakes at Churchill. So Cody's Wish, already your favorite there. I mean, put in the comments below if you have a favorite in any of these divisions already, which I'm sure you can kind of make some sense out of these already. It's pretty early, and some of the divisions haven't even had a qualifier yet, but you can start seeing some of these have formed, especially on the turf side. Filly and Mare Turf Tuesday, another big win for me last year. I was a big Irish horse racing fan last year at the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. I believe they won 6 of the 14 divisions were Irish horses.
Yeah, they really shipped them last year. They dominators when it came to those turf races. If you were betting American on any of the turf races, best of luck to you.
Yep. Yeah, they definitely proved that America's not quite with it on the turf program for the most part. And speaking of that, the 7th qualifier will come out of Leopardstown on this Saturday, the 9th, at the Coolmore America Justify Matron Stakes.
Yeah, Victoria Road and Lord Massasus running in that one. Or at least it looks like they are right now, as far as we can tell. Still possibly a little bit early. That could be.
We're several days out, so it's a kind of a crapshoot on who's actually going to run. So we're kind of going off of what we know, and it's all speculation at this point. But for the sprint division, you had Elite Power. I know you had a big win on Elite Power last year. I believe that was a 6-1, 8-1 type winner, and you had him pegged.
Yes.
I had him involved, but not nailed. I should have listened to you. Although I can't complain. It was my best Breeders' Cup ever. So, I mean.
You were knocking them dead on that one. And that was one of my few solid peg victories on that one.
So the Chosen Vron qualified out of the Bing Crosby at Del Mar a month or so ago. And we have the Vosper coming up, as well as the Stoll Keenan, the Keenan Ogden Phoenix. Keeneland, those are all a few weeks away. So let's see. The mile division, Modern Games was the champ last year. Got 6 horses already qualified there. A lot of familiar names. A lot of countries represented. Again, drop in the comments if you have some favorites out of any of these divisions, because I don't know.
Your boy Casa Creed is in this one, right?
Oh, yeah. 4-star Dave champ got through at Saratoga.
Yeah.
A lot of the bigger races coming up here are at Keeneland, Woodbine, Aqueduct, and Santa Anita has a few, and then a lot at Ascot.
Yeah.
So a lot of good stuff coming up. Distaff, you have Belleza de Artiega. They got
5-star pronunciation.
Absolutely flawless, I'm sure. Got through from Palermo back in May. Clariere, who's a staple in U.S. racing, got through in the Ogden Phipps, and Adair Manor just got through a few weeks ago. Juddmonte Spinsters, the last round there. That is in Keeneland in about a month.
I am curious to see who's going to be in that race, because that could be a hell of a race if they pack it down with some of the potential.
I wish Malta was coming back again, but that has been a great division. That's usually one of my favorites to watch here. And then the last two, we have 2 qualifiers coming up for the turf division, which is always the most difficult one to bet every year.
Yeah.
Rebels Romance, who was actually one of the favorites, rarely got it done. Usually it's a 30-1 type shot. I didn't believe in Rebels Romance last year, but Bolshoi Ballet, Gold Phoenix just got in this past weekend.
Bolshoi Ballet,
Bolshoi Ballet has been a staple.
Yeah.
This class is already winding up to be a good one, with 4 more automatic qualifiers coming up, 2 this weekend.
Right.
One at Leopardstown, one at Kentucky Downs. And we'll talk about that Kentucky Downs race a little deeper here in a moment.
Bolshoi Ballet was out for a while, and I think even running over across the seas for a little bit, but also had like a really long layoff, came kind of out of nowhere, and won that Sword Dancer. I shouldn't say came out of nowhere. People know who Bolshoi Ballet is, but came back after a long layoff and looked pretty darn impressive, winning a big race to qualify for this one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like him in the Breeders' Cup turf as well.
Yeah.
We'll see who comes out of Kentucky Downs this weekend. And again, there's another qualifier at Leopardstown, both on the 9th this weekend. And then finally the Classic, we have Arabian Night, who just jumped in, who's got to be at the top of the list as far as overall favorites. But look at this list here, coming together nicely.
It is.
It's going to be a good one. I know a lot of people, we talked at length about how all the good horses from last year, it seemed like, all retired. all the good, even 3 and 4 year olds. Flightline obviously comes to mind, but
yeah.
so many of the great ones. But I mean, if you look at this is a pretty solid group coming together, at least balance wise. And then you've got a horse like Arabian Night, who I think you and I both know for sure was on the path to stardom.
Yes.
If not a Kentucky Derby favoritism, if not, winning type Triple Crown threat type 3-year-old campaign before he got derailed. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we all had Arabian Night 1 or 2 in January and possibly through February until we heard news that no, Arabian Night's no longer going to be on the Derby Trail. You won't see him for a while.
And then
Sad news.
outside of one or two side steps, the older horse White Barrio is I mean, there are times when he looks like a total force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. And the change of trainer too, that's an interesting move as well. And obviously there was some contention behind that, it sounds like, but change in trainer, wondering how that's going to work for White Barrio long term. But yeah, this is shaping up to be it could be a very strong classic. It's not going to be a Flightline classic like last year. That's
you're not going to see that level. But what you're going to see is probably, I mean, what kind of racing do you like? Do you like to see history made with Flightline winning by 20 lengths, which was awesome? Don't get me wrong. Or do you want to see a race where, I mean, I can't imagine that there's going to be a super heavy favorite out of that group already, let alone who's coming up next. But and just to touch back on the turf one before we go on, the coolest part to me about turf racing that I've fallen in love with the last few years, these are the best turf horses in the world, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries represented.
Yeah.
In 7 winners so far.
Yeah.
Argentina, Brazil, Ireland, Japan. That's four countries rather. I misspoke, but there's always a contingent from like 5+ countries all around the world that participate in turf racing. That's what makes it so cool, and it's harder to handicap. That's the downside of it, but it brings that international element big time to the turf racing. I wish America would get more involved in those, but hey.
Yeah,
we always think we are, but then we show up for the race and no.
Yeah, you watch the classic, right? And you'll be lucky if there's 5 states represented in the classic, right?
Yeah. Yep, and we'll cap it off with a little preview on the two races coming up at Kentucky Downs this weekend. The first one is the Turf Sprint. Obviously, this is a qualifier for the Turf Sprint division. At Kentucky Downs, the Ainsworth Turf Sprint Stakes, and this is I don't know, post time 4:54 Central Time, if that helps anybody, but looks like 13 pre-entered.
Yes.
100K, 6 furlongs on the turf. I mean, anybody's popping off the page. I mean, Dream Shake is a 8-1 shot here. I mean, there's the money line odds off to the right here.
7 and 8. If I'm going to look at favorites, I like Cogburn and No Balls. The gelding, ironically, in terms of anything that's under 6-1, right? Those, or anything under 8-1, since we're looking at a deep field in Kentucky Downs, those two stick out to me right away.
And I challenge you to leave Bad Beat Brian off your tickets if you're playing horizontals, because that horse and Front Run the Fed, for that matter, those two horses always seem to get involved at a big price in these big races. So again, I wouldn't be surprised. And this is another race. I mean, just looking at the morning line odds, the favorite morning line is 4-1. So this is going to be a great betting race.
Yeah, no one.
And by the way, it's Kentucky Downs, which is a lottery. I mean, a freaking roulette wheel.
It is
to begin with. So then you throw in a balanced field like this,
and that's
short turf race.
And that's the thing too. This is a very balanced field, and I don't know if I see the winner of the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint here, but I definitely see a hell of a good race, and you're going to get a price on anyone here. I think that's the other thing too. I mean, what is the Cogburn is 4-1, and I think that's probably
it is the favorite right now.
The favorite right now, a 4-1 favorite. I mean, that's bettable awesome if you like Cogburn, right?
Yeah, and here's the real beauty of Kentucky Downs. Even if any of these horses runs a stellar dominant performance, you still don't know what you have because it's Kentucky Downs, which is a anomaly of a racetrack and does not really compute to any other racetrack on earth.
You just know that horse can take a change in elevation.
Yeah, the horse can run up and down hills fast.
Yeah.
Last but not least, it's the main event, I guess, at Kentucky Downs this weekend. Breeders' Cup Turf Division. Kentucky Downs Turf Cup. This is a 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
And this is there's 16 pre-enters, 12 plus the 4 also eligibles. Bunch of familiar names again.
Oh, there are. Yeah.
Red Knight. It looks like Therapist, the 11, is the morning line favorite. Verstappen, Red Knight, Santine. You've got a whole lot of familiar names here. Anything popping off the page at you?
I mean, other ones that I really like, I think Katoden may have even won this race last year, or he definitely won a race last year at Kentucky Downs. He's had some success there.
Yeah,
hasn't been that great lately. Had a long layoff, lost last week in Kentucky Downs, or this past weekend, I should say. Get Smokin' usually has some pretty good success at hitting the board in some of these races. Don't think Get Smokin' is going to win, but hitting the board, you might be lucky there. It's just it's a field where it's difficult not to talk up a certain horse, right?
Yeah, I mean that's again, and then you add the Kentucky Downs element, which is really, I mean, and no disrespect. I mean, if you love a racetrack where things really get shaken up, it seems like a lot of the math and the analysis, kind of can be thrown in the breeze because it just doesn't always compute to reality at this track. And that is before and after. If you take a Kentucky Downs big event winner, and then send them into their next race, you really can't tell what you're going to get out of that racehorse. We've seen it 1,000 times. I mean, they run a brilliant race here, and then they come back out in the next race at a more quote unquote normal situation. And you just don't see the same thing. It's happened time and time again.
Yeah.
But with that said,
if you do an easy pick on this, though, you have to look at the number 2 Red Knight 4-1. Gaffleone Maker. That combo has been very solid the last couple of years at Kentucky Downs. If you want to do an easy pick, 4-1, that's the pick there.
Well, yeah, I agree. Tyler to me is the best turf rider in America, hands down, and has been for 2 or 3 years. I don't know anything else to close out. We're going to do this every week. We're going to touch base on who's in these fields, who's coming up in next week. Next week we'll review who won this week. Blah blah blah. A nice little weekly recap on this situation.
Not to spin it up too much, but the Pacific Classic, and not to say that it's a predictor every year of the Classic winner, the Breeders' Cup Classic winner, but like you said, hell of a race that we had. You mentioned already Arabian Night, but Go Rocket Ride within a neck or a head of Arabian Night. And then Slow Down Andy behind him. I think those 3 horses, assuming Slow Down Andy enters in as well, and he may not, but at least those 2 horses going into the Classic, that's going to be fun to watch them have another rematch, right?
Yeah.
Coming out of the Haskell, the Classic, and then the Classic again, right? It's going to be insane to watch that. So I'm really looking forward to those 2 duking it out.
Yeah, and you add in the fact that the 3-year-olds don't usually fare too well in the Classic. It's usually an older horse's race, which is why I mentioned White Barrio.
Right.
But who knows? If there was a year for 3-year-olds to take it, it's this year, because there really is not like a standout. Not the White Barrio's. White Barrio's been a great horse, but you don't have that dominant like Knicks Go type horse from a couple of years ago.
Right.
You just don't have that. So
this could be another year like when Authentic won it, right? When we thought Max Security had
a
line in to win. But right now it's looking like, hey, Arabian Night, Go Rocket Ride, they definitely have an opening.
Take a look at the futures, man. I mean, if you could get a decent price on Arabian Night right now, I'd probably jump on it, because I think that horse is going to be, it's definitely fresh. The horse has not been raced much.
Destined for greatness.
Baffert shows up when it matters, man. So
especially in California.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Please subscribe, like the video, all that good stuff. Formula, thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for having me.
We will run back Breeders' Cup weekly, every week from here on out. So thanks again for joining. Peace out.
See you.